April 11, 2021. Tip-off time tonight is 7 p.m. on ESPN. The Lakers are off until Thursday night against Denver at Crypto.com. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's AP poll: South Carolina, Iowa, North Carolina State, Colorado, and Ohio State. UCLA is 9th, USC 10th. Top 5 men's teams: UConn, Purdue, North Carolina, Kansas, and Houston. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. 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 If we care enough.
What's up, man? I was at this place. Man, what was you doing, man? What's up with that? Man, I was doing the ooh. Hey, yo, man, come on. What's up? You got that, man? I got the cosmos. Hey, man, go ahead, take it to the cosmos. I said, I got the cosmos. Get free. Going down 165th Street, past that mall. Oh, man, don't do it to me. Oh, man, she look like Betty Boop. Betty Boop. Betty Boop. I do it do. A Betty Boop and an audience was jumping up and down. Said, Betty Boop, down you. Don't hit me in my... Woo! Hey, man, come here. What's up, okay? Hey, what's up, Earl? Hey, be God over here. What's that? Hey,
Jamaica funk, that's what it is. Let it get into you. You know I've been fucking for Jamaica. If you feel it, let it get into you. Jamaica funk, that's what it is. Let it get into you.
I'm Tavis Smiley, and I am thankful to have you hanging out with us today for all 3 hours of our program. And I'm excited about this. Well, I'm excited about every hour, but I'm always excited and thrilled when I get a chance to hang out with my friend and brother, Danny Glover. I've been honored, literally, to travel with Danny Glover around the globe. And I do mean around the globe. We've been to a lot of places together, to Cuba, to Venezuela, and beyond. It's always cool hanging out with Danny because they love him the world over, and whenever you're with him, doors just open up. And so I always love hanging out with Danny because amazing things happen when you're in his entourage. He is, of course, an actor, a producer, a director, and a longtime activist, and he joins us in this hour to discuss this year's Pan-African Film and Arts Festival, which he co-founded back in 1992. And for all these years, the festival has remained dedicated to the promotion of black stories and images through film, visual art, and other creative expressions. I am honored to welcome my friend and brother Danny Glover to this program. Danny, how are you, sir?
I'm Tavis. How are you doing, brother?
If I complain, I'd be an ingrate. I'd be an ingrate if I complained, man. I'm doing okay. You doing all right?
I'm doing. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing well. We're looking at 32 years now. What is it? 32 years for the Pan African Film Festival.
Yeah. It's been a long time, man. It's been a long time. Let me give some information about the festival right quick, and then I want to ask you the first question, which is obviously what was happening 32 years ago that allowed y'all to bring this thing to the fore. But before you answer that question, February the 6th through the 19th.
I don't know. I can barely hear you, Tavis.
Let me let Miles work on that. Miles, work on Danny hearing me because I can hear him. He can't hear me. While we work on that part, the festival has already it's already begun. It started yesterday. It's February 6th through 19 here in Southern California at the Cinemark Baldwin Hills and XD. That's the Cinemark Baldwin Hills and XD. It's February 6th through 19. So you got many more days in this month to enjoy this Pan-African Film Festival. As you heard Danny say a moment ago, 32 years and counting. And this year, the festival will feature more than 140 film screenings. That's a big festival. More than 140 film screenings alongside industry panels and Q&As with many of the filmmakers. Every year, I go there to check something out. I never miss it. It's an amazing festival. There is no Pan-African Film Festival quite like this one. And again, it's February 6th through the 19th here in Southern California at the Cinemark Baldwin Hills and XD. More than 140 film screenings, industry panels, Q&A with all the filmmakers. Of course, Danny and company and crew will all be there for parts of the festival. But there's some amazing, amazing projects that they're premiering this year at the Pan-African Film and Arts Festival. So I'm excited about the festival, 32 years in, excited about our conversation with Danny Glover, just trying to make sure we can hear each other. I am always amazed all these years into this industry that technology, when it works remarkably well. And when it doesn't in radio, you're in some trouble. It's going to be hard to have a conversation if Danny cannot hear me, even though I am hearing him well. So we'll get that squared away and commence our conversation here shortly with our friend and brother Danny Glover, celebrating 32 years. That's a long time to do anything. And to stick with this and to see this thing build and grow for 3+ decades has been pretty amazing. So when we come forward, we'll commence our conversation with Danny Glover on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
We're for Washington. We love Febrez's new scent. Refresh and energize.
So much we made a song about it.
I can't escape this feeling inside. Refresh and energize. It's a mood, it's a vibe. Breathing for the first time. So free, so alive. Breathe happy for free. Smells like paradise. Breathe happy for free.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of This Light of Ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This Light of Ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This Light of Ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
All right, Danny Glover, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can hear you, brother.
That helps. I was going to say it's going to be hard to have a conversation with you if you can't hear me. I can hear you. I can hear you well. Let me start over again. How are you, Danny Glover? I love you. How you doing, man?
I love you. I'm doing good. I'm really good.
Yeah.
I'm doing fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that. But while I couldn't hear you, I was sharing with the audience this show, of course, is based in L.A. I'm based in L.A., as you know, but we're heard across the country in syndication now, which is a beautiful thing. So folk across the country are hearing you, and I wanted them to know about the Pan-African Film and Arts Festival. It is taking place this year, February 6th through 19th, so it kicked off yesterday, runs through the 19th. Yes. Through the 19th, 32 years and counting. It will be held this year at the Cinemark, Baldwin Hills, and XD. More than 140 film screenings, industry panels, Q&A with many of the filmmakers. And so, Danny Glover, you've done the Lord's work, some righteous work for 32 years on this festival. For those who don't know the backstory, it's been 32 years. Take me back to how this thing came to be, Danny.
Well, how it came to be, and we certainly didn't imagine it going in the way in which it's grown. Mm-hmm. But the idea of around the movements around African liberation, mm-hmm. and it began there. Certainly, I'm part of the reason why I'm an actor is the fact that I was involved in those movements, you know, as a student in San Francisco State in the late 60s. And then when I found the writer that wrote for me, Athol Fugard, the great South African writer, it took me from a small theater in San Francisco to Los Angeles, and then to off-Broadway, and then on Broadway. At the same time that certainly the movement to free Mandela, the movement to free to end the apartheid, all those things were central to not only me as an artist, but certainly central to African Americans and other Americans as well. People move the movement moment. So mm-hmm. it took me often to places that I didn't expect to go, spending a great deal of time for my little brother, Hugo Chavez, and other places mm-hmm. that certainly that having the rich and vital interests and involvement of African Americans, you know, with that moment when Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela walked and toured the country. Mm-hmm. All of that happened within that span of my career, at that moment in my career. I mean, we had the other things like Lethal Weapon and
sure.
Color Purple and Beloved and all those things, but those things were you know, sometimes it happens in your life. You know, each generation, as Paul Robeson said, each generation makes its own history and is judged by the history it makes.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Each generation makes its own history and is judged by the history it makes. That's Paul Robeson. It's a powerful, powerful quote. You've said a lot already, and I'm glad I've got the hour. There's a lot to talk to you about. I want to weave some things in that you've already, again, referenced. You mentioned Lethal Weapon a moment ago, and I was up a few nights ago, flipping channels and watching one of your 33 versions of Lethal Weapon. You did that thing so many times. I forgot which one it was, but I'd never forget the storyline. I forgot what number it is, and I should put you on the spot and see if you recall what number it was. But the scene I'm talking about, and it was throughout the film, and I remember when I first saw this film, it jumped out at me because I know you so well. And I said, ain't nobody done that but Danny Glover. And every time I see that particular sequel of Lethal Weapon, I smile because I know you had something to do with that. I'm talking about now the Lethal Weapon film where the South African theme was involved, and y'all pushed so hard on this anti-apartheid notion. There were posters that were in the backdrop of certain shots. You know the episode. You know what I'm talking about, right, Danny?
Yeah, but it begins in the first one.
Okay, it does. It does.
If you look in the first Lethal Weapon, Lethal 1, we're talking about the second one.
Yeah, right.
I think. Yeah, we're talking about the second one. You take the first one, you see on the refrigerator in my house, Roger Murtaugh's house, there's a poster. You know, there's an anti-apartheid South African poster on the refrigerator. So that was not me. That was Richard Donner.
Okay.
And that, but certainly we decided to the second one, which was going to be about Colombian drug lords, they changed that to money. The theme of the second one, and that sense was put it. I mean, it was banned from showing in South Africa because at the time we were still in the midst of this movement and the system fighting the system of apartheid. So at the same time that I think it was topical news and important news, an important moment. I think that the film played some role on, and I'm not saying ending apartheid, but certainly making it an artist's contribution to, and artists have that, as Paul Robeson said, each generation makes its own history and is judged by that history it makes. But so in that sense, that was very timely at the time.
Yeah.
At the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course we did the movie Mandela.
That's right.
We did the movie Mandela. After I did the first Lethal Weapon. I did the movie of Mandela.
No, obviously, you have a storied career, no question about it. And I'm glad you told me that story. And I want to give Richard Donner his credit going forward. If Richard Donner was the one to put that poster on the refrigerator, then God bless Richard Donner. But I love the fact that it was on the refrigerator in the first Lethal Weapon, and then the second one. You're right. We talked the whole theme basically is about South Africa, and it's all in that film. But let me just ask you this question. I wonder whether or not you think that today, that art, that film and music, that art is still, how might I put it, still pregnant with that same kind of power to make those kinds of cultural statements that allows a film like Lethal Weapon to not be seen in South Africa because they're afraid of what's up on the screen.
Well, I mean, we can say that we can go back to artists. Harry Belafonte would tell me, I was saying, when he was 19, he was hanging out with Paul Robeson and W.E. Du Bois. Two of the major. He was 19 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that, and certainly I remember when I came to do Master Harold and the Boys. I came to do Master Harold and the Boys, and there's a moment where opening night, and sitting in that opening night after the performance at Yale Rep, there was Harry Belafonte, and I knew at that particular point in time that he came to the movie To see the play, but not simply to see the play. He was trying to figure out, okay, this is a play, and it's going to have some relationship to your career. What relationship does it have to what you believe? I don't become an actor if I'm not involved in the movements from Portuguese decolonization and in Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, and Angola, or the movement. Excuse me, the movement for the end apartheid. I don't think, and this is my own. I mean, you look in your life, you look through your life at this particular point in time, and even that, I don't think I would become an actor had I not been involved in those movements.
Yeah.
So the movements, and it say, was clearly the movements of our generation, and it certainly acting provided, with Fugard's word, a platform on it. And I remember reading that. My great friend, I have to acknowledge him, Bennett Gilry. Bennett Gilry and I, as actors do, after we were at the American Conservatory of Theater, and as actors, and Delroy Lindo was there for a year. Also, Denzel Washington was there at the American Conservatory of Theater. We were all around, and we were all at the American Conservatory of Theater. So what he did was, he said, as we actually always do, we'll say, well, let's do something over the summer, over the break, scene study. And Bennett Gilry gave me the blood knot. Now, we had heard about the two actors that did The Island and Seasway Bonzi's Dead in Rep in New York, but it had not reached San Francisco. So he gave me that, and then we began to work on that. I brought a great friend of mine in, Felix Justice, in, and he shaped it for us. And we put it on, we performed it and everything else. And I remember we did the blood knot. We had friends this is a long story, I'm sorry, but we had our friends and our relatives come to the American Conservatory Theater, in that small theater, and sat for 4 hours, and we did a 4-act play. And there's something, Tavis, at some point where you sit, you do something, and you say, I think I could do this. And I remember that moment, that evening, vividly, where I said, I think this is what I'm working in city government, been there 6.5 years in the mayor's office. I'd be getting a pension from that right now at my age. But something happens at that time. And I tell this story often to young people, but how do you decide? You have to say, this is what I want to do, because it's much larger than me. I think doing the work was much larger has to be much larger to us. And those are the lessons you learn by others, Harry Belafonte in his career, at 19 years old, he's with he's with A. Philip Law enough. At 19 years old, he's with W.B. Du Bois.
Yeah.
He's sitting with Du Bois.
No, I hear you.
W.B. Du Bois?
No.
It makes chills when I think about that. Paul Robeson at 19 years old.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
And you asked him what he did. He just went to get coffee and tea for them. That's what he tells me. I love it. No. I was Harry Belafonte going to get coffee and tea to W.B. Du Bois
and Paul Robeson
at 19 years old.
No, it's a story. It's a story about how each of us is part of a continuum, right? We're part of a continuum.
Exactly.
And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our paragraph right, man. Get your paragraph right.
Yeah. It is it's part of that, and the one thing when you look back on it, that's the privilege we had.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's a privilege.
It's a privilege to tell those stories.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm, people remember me from, Lethal Weapon. The first quote line from Lethal Weapon, but when we did the one around South Africa, the second one,
second one,
and all those things, it at a very important time in a moment when the consciousness of around human beings, around the questions of what's important, is at a high level.
Yeah.
If I'm saying.
No, talk to me about what's important about human rights, because that's been at the epicenter of your work, both on stage, off stage, on the screen, off the screen. It's always been about human rights. I mentioned to the audience while we were getting your phone line straight that I've had the honor of traveling around the globe with you. I've been to Cuba with Danny Glover. I've been to Venezuela with Danny Glover. I've been other places with Danny Glover. But at the epicenter of your work is always human rights. And that connects to why you helped co-found the Pan-African Film and Arts Festival. It's ultimately about human rights and allowing people to tell their stories, yes?
I mean, it's there. You know, I mean, Yacob Babu is a part of that. And certainly he came to we actually met when he was at UCLA doing graduate work, and I was at San Francisco State, and he came up there in the middle of the strike of 1967. It was the longest student strike in this country's history, and I was a member of the Central Committee of the BSU, the Black Student Union. And and we had invited in '66. We had invited Amiri out there, Baraka out there, and all those things happen. At the moment, it's not only happening where we are; it's happening all over the country.
Yeah,
it's that movement after the movements that occurred after the great movements of SNCC. We are disciples of SNCC.
In some way or another, yeah, exactly.
We all who come in that generation who are disciples of SNCC, and certainly I think, and even that from the Montgomery bus boycott when I was 9 years old, and I saw my parents looking at it, and the first thing that I thought in my mind, because I had gone to the South. My mother's from Georgia, rural Georgia. I had spent time with my grandparents and all that stuff. So even though I lived in San Francisco, was born and raised in San Francisco, the only vacation we went to was coming all the way across the country and driving across the country for 3 days to go see my grandparents. That's how much my grandparents meant to my mother, because she was the first to go to college, let alone graduate from college. Yeah. In her family. And I've never been around anybody who kind of nurtured and loved their mother and father like my mother loved her mother and father.
That's part of the story we were talking about a moment ago. We're all part of a continuum, and our job is to try to get our paragraph in the telling of this story right. When you hear the brilliant and fascinating backstory of Danny Glover, you understand then why he is the actor that he is. You understand why he makes the choices as an actor that he makes, and you understand why he's one of the co-founders of the Pan-African Film and Arts Festival taking place right now here in Los Angeles. More about that festival and the work and witness of Danny Glover when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The chair of the Homeland Security Committee says Republicans will try again to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Yesterday's vote in the House failed, with the final tally at 214 to 216. Had that vote passed, Mayorkas would have become the first cabinet official impeached in almost a century and a half. In Illinois, South Suburban Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is on the defensive concerning criticism from trustees and the media who question her spending. The African-American mayor lashed out at a recent public meeting, stating to trustees that you all forget that I am the leader and trustees do nothing but run their mouths. Henyard added that her critics are grandstanders who should get in line behind her. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate, not one based on anyone else. So if you drive safely, you could save money. Good to know. Visit allstate.com or call for a quote today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers will go into tonight's home game against New Orleans with the best record in the Western Conference. At 34-15, the Clippers are a half game ahead of Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and Denver. OKC and Minnesota lost last night to move the Clippers into the top spot in the West. The Clippers are coming off a 6-1 road trip. They are 15-3 since January 1st and 19 games over 500 for the first time since April 11, 2021. Tip-off time tonight is 7 p.m. on ESPN. The Lakers are off until Thursday night against Denver at Crypto.com. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's AP poll: South Carolina, Iowa, North Carolina State, Colorado, and Ohio State. UCLA is 9th, USC 10th. Top 5 men's teams: UConn, Purdue, North Carolina, Kansas, and Houston. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Around here, we don't believe in victimhood. We believe in raising our voices, amplifying black voices in the climate conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
If you like using debit over credit, shouldn't you also get rewarded? Well, now you can with Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cash back on everyday purchases with no fees, period. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
We all agree that America has a very serious problem.
Okay, KBLA delegation, we need your help as we launch our 2024 Climate Justice Campaign. We would deeply appreciate you going to our KBLA 1580 website and filling out a short climate justice survey, which will help us better serve our beloved community as we build out this campaign. It'll take you just a few short minutes to complete the online survey, and the information you provide us will be invaluable as we do our part to hold folk accountable and amplify the voices of our people in this climate conversation. When you take the survey, you'll be automatically entered to win seats at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 29th. So, hit our website at KBLA 1580. Help us out by taking the short climate justice campaign survey, and you could be our guest at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 29th. Thank you in advance for your consideration and cooperation. At KBLA Talk 1580, we care about the community, we care about the climate.
I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness. From my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams, too. Go get your secret whole body deodorant.
Who do you trust to get at the truth?
Tavis Smiley.
That's who. The conversation continues right now.
The Pan-African Film and Arts Festival is underway right now here in Southern California, February the 6th through the 19th. At the Cinemark, Baldwin Hills, and XD, more than 140 film screenings, industry panels, Q&A with many of the filmmakers. 32 years and running is the Pan-African Film and Arts Festival. We are honored in this hour to be in dialogue with one of the co-founders of this festival, the brilliant actor, director, producer, and activist, all-around public intellectual, Danny Glover, who I'm just thrilled to be, again, in dialogue with once again. Danny, before I get back to the festival, we were talking earlier about Lethal Weapon and the storylines there in South Africa and apartheid and all of that. And that took us on a journey to a variety of other places around the globe. I want to come back home now and ask you, how does it feel to have lived long enough? How does it feel to have done enough work where the movies that you did are now being remade? I'm talking, of course, about The Color Purple.
I saw it. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's incredible. You know that that it provides a film, provides another platform for young actors. It was a platform for me, Whoopi. It was a platform for you know. Just everybody on that to build, you know, them. So I really enjoyed it.
How would you situate it? You've done so many great films. How would you situate you, Danny Glover? Everybody's had commentary about your performance in that film, that classic film, and an amazing performance for you and the entire cast. But how do you situate The Color Purple in your vast body of work?
It's right there.
Yeah.
I certainly consider To Sleep with Anger a wonderful film, and it's in the library, the Congressional Library, of one of the great films. But it was, I think it was so amazing to be a part of something like that. Alice Walker, and then being able to do Beloved. I still consider Beloved as one of the most important films that I've made, that I've been involved in. It certainly shapes an idea of identity. It creates another place, a powerful conversation about this history. You know, films is that we've been away from and not been able to kind of tell the stories that we want to tell. You know, and I think that Toni Morris's book is one of the great books written by women, a woman in that period, in that period of time. So I was fortunate enough to be a part of that film. We remember the iconic characters like Paul, you know, that you get in Mr. in The Color Purple and everything else. But you know, I thought that Paul D in Beloved was extraordinary. You know, there's somewhere that's in the depth of our consciousness. It's never. It doesn't. The industry itself doesn't allow the vehicles to allow those kind of vehicles to be placed before us. I'd love to do those kind of films. I mean, it's great to do action films and and to be noted for action films, and particularly, Lethal Weapon and stuff like that. But it's something about being able to do something that goes beyond, it goes beyond, and that's, and Tony gave us that, and Alice Walker gave us that as well.
No, it's an amazing thing, man. Again, looking at your body of work, to do a Toni Morrison project and an Alice Walker project in the same career, people would die for that opportunity, and both of them end up being just amazing pieces of work. And there you are at the center of both of them. It's a career that others would be jealous of, and you're still at it. That's the beautiful part. When you think about the Pan African Film and Arts Festival this year, 32 years running, and that you all have grown to the point where there are more than 140 film screenings. It didn't start out that way, not to mention these industry panels and these Q&As with many of these filmmakers, but 140 films in one festival, Danny, that's a big deal.
I know Babu, and because I went to school at San Francisco State with his brother, but we were Jaheed. We were on strike in 1967 at San Francisco State. The longest student strike in history in the United States, and we were on strike. And Babu came up there and supported that. He was at UCLA. Yeah. And so we unite, find ourselves, in two different places, tied to the same movement around a School of Ethnic Studies. Here we are right here, co-founders, one of three co-founders of the Pan-African Film Festival, and that's remarkable, man. We never thought our lives were intersecting that way. But it may, in some sense, started out the Black Arts movement. We brought Amiri Baraka out there in the spring, and then we brought Nathan Hare to develop a Black Studies program. Oh yeah, which ended up to an Ethnic Studies program when the major strike. It's a very we the moments that we live, I always think they're larger than what we are. Yeah. And that each moment in itself, whether it's the moment when I saw the Montgomery bus boycott, and I was 9 years old, and I watched it, and somewhere in my consciousness, in a sense, I didn't know how, but I wanted to be like those people. Oh yeah, I wanted to be, and they say that every night, and that's one of the positives of television. Every night you saw these men and women who were making a choice, making a moral choice, making an ethical choice, and a historic choice. No. And to watch that as a child. And to watch my mother from the Deep South, my father from the Midwest, and be able to watch them, and they set the tone for my appreciation and my understanding it, because now they in their silent prayers had lived that, and had my mother. And my father, even though he's from the Midwest, but made their silent prayers and lived those moments. And I'm grateful for having parents who turned on that television and added some level of substance to my life by what they watched.
There are two things that Danny just said that I find fascinating. I'll tell you what they are when we come forward. But his story that he just shared about being 9 years old and watching the Montgomery bus boycott with his parents, and just being attuned to their silent prayers and wanting to be like those persons that he saw participating in this Montgomery bus boycott. Two thoughts I want to share when we come forward. You're listening to Danny Glover on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking.
That's what we do around here.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyaudio.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyaudio.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Hello, I'm John McKinney, your candidate for District Attorney. As an African American who has served our community for over 25 years, I'm proud to have successfully convicted the killer of Nipsey Hussle, standing up for justice where it matters most. But my commitment extends beyond the courtroom. I'm deeply invested in youth development. And when it comes to our police, I believe in accountability. It is essential that those who protect us are also responsible to us, reflecting the values and integrity of our community. This election, I ask for your vote. I am John McKinney, and I'm running to be your district attorney. Learn more at McKinneyforLA.com.
Paid for by John McKinney for LA District Attorney 2024.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
As I was listening to Danny Glover speak moments ago, there were two thoughts that just jumped into my spirit, into my head. Listening to him tell the story of being 9 years old and watching with his parents the coverage, the national news coverage of the Montgomery bus boycott. Those two thoughts are these. Number one, courage is contagious. I believe that courage is contagious. The courage that Danny saw on that screen as a 9-year-old jumped inside of him and has imbued him with all that he needed to do the work he's done for all these years. So number one, never lose sight of the fact that courage is contagious. Somebody is watching you. And when you act out in courageous ways, when you show up in the world in courageous ways, your courage is contagious for somebody else. The second thing I thought about is here's my friend Danny Glover, now, 76, 77 years of age.
77 years old.
77, yeah. And all these years later, he's still talking about his mom and daddy. All these years later, he's still talking about what his parents put in him and wanted to be like his parents and to be like those courageous folk he saw on television who were walking and ride sharing and doing everything they could to bring that bus system to its knees in Montgomery. I've said many times, Danny, that I believe that the Montgomery bus boycott may very well be, even all these years later, the finest moment in Black America when it comes to the issue of unity. I cannot think of all these years later, I still cannot think of any incident where Black people came together as they did in that moment and shut down an entire system. Everybody walked. Everybody carpooled. Everybody did what they did to get off those buses and to shut that system down. I can't imagine in 2024 that we could ever be unified in that particular way. I'd like to be wrong about that, but that bus boycott is one of our finest moments, and I see why it hit you in the way that it did as a 9-year-old kid.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know what I'm saying? It's the most important. That moment and it brought to the forefront, leaders. Yeah. It built leaders.
Oh,
build character, build leaders. We can talk about Dr. King, but there's so much leadership came out of that. For me, I remember when I had a paper route. My brother teased me because I had a paper route for a long time. But I get up in San Francisco morning at 4:30 to do my paper route. First thing I would do is pull to the Nation session and look at what had happened with SNCC, what had happened with Freedom Summer. All those things were available to us in a sense. It's because you see and you internalize those movements and watch those movements, and it opens you up. It opened me up.
This is
so many others.
No,
in a different kind of way.
This is what happens. I'm sorry, Danny. Let me do this right quick. I'll give you the final thought when we come forward. I was going to say very quickly, not to step on you, but as you listen to Danny tell these stories, this is what happens when you live a lifetime of consciousness. His consciousness was developed at such an early age, and you see the results of it. There's no you can draw a direct line from Danny watching the Montgomery bus boycott on television to that paper route and reading the paper every day to see what happened in the movements regarding SNCC, the Black Panthers, etc. You can draw a direct line from all of that to his movie choices like Beloved, like To Sleep with Anger, like Lethal Weapon, like playing Mandela in that HBO film, and draw that line straight to the Pan-African Film and Arts Festival, now 32 years running. It's a continuous line, a stream of consciousness that Danny has been following his entire life and career. I love it. Our remaining moments of Danny Glover when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
If you're looking for the most epic place on Earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
Not rolling for Duncan Shannon and their client CTPP. This radio spot is entitled Stephen, KICA 2023. ISKI code XCFS02050. And this is a 30-second radio spot, stereo monocompatible.
That was another way I would smoke once an hour. That didn't work either. All that would happen at some point of the day, I would end up doubling up. Other ways that I tried to quit was I stopped buying cigarettes totally. But if I took 3 puffs off of 15 friends, those didn't count because they weren't my cigarettes and they weren't full cigarettes. I went through a lot.
Every attempt is part of your story to quit for good. Visit Kick It California today at kickitca.org.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
More of Danny Glover. I've only got 3 minutes left. Just 3 minutes left with Danny Glover. I'm still thinking about that story of his parents and him watching the Montgomery bus boycott at 9. I just want to say this very quickly. We are who we are because somebody loved us. Every one of us is who we are because somebody loved us. And Danny Glover has always loved his people. You see it in his work. You see it in his witness. There's love for us at the epicenter of everything Danny Glover has done. So, Danny, I thank you for that. I give you the last word. What is your best appeal? What's your best pitch to folk for why they should come out and see the Pan-African Film and Arts Festival between now and the 19th of February?
But I also, I want them to do that.
Yeah.
And I want to really watch the work of a theater company that I was co-founder of, and with myself, Bennett Gilridge, we were involved in a pioneering Roby Theater Company, and we had a wonderful play in downtown LA, heated discussions, and it was quite amazing the work that Ben and bringing men and women together and doing meaningful work and important work. We first think about too often we think about what we do in terms of film, but the work that Roby Theater is doing is remarkable as well. And so I'm proud to be a part of that as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the work that so many young actors, white, African American, Asian actors, all of those find themselves at the Roby Theater Company.
It's amazing. It's an amazing theater company. It's called the Roby Theater Company here in L.A. When you're in town, I don't know what's on stage there now, but when you come to L.A. for the Pan-African Film and Arts Festival, now running through the 19th of February at the Cinemark Baldwin Hills in XD, check out what's going on at the Roby Theater. It's an amazing theater. Again, Danny helped co-found that as well. Ben Guillory runs it. He's an amazing guy. But check out the Roby Theater, named, of course, it's called the Roby, named after Paul Robeson. So check out the Roby Theater when you're in L.A., checking out the Pan-African Film and Arts Festival. Again, now through the 19th of February at the Cinemark Baldwin Hills in XD, more than 140 film screenings, industry panels, a Q&A with the filmmakers. I am out of time, but just enough time to say, Danny Glover, I love you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
I love you, Tavis. Thank you, sir, brother. Thank you.
Stay strong, Danny Glover. That's our show for today. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until then, thanks for listening to Tavis Smiley, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The chair of the Homeland Security Committee says Republicans will try again to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Yesterday's vote in the House failed, with the final tally at 214 to 216. Had that vote passed, Mayorkas would have become the first cabinet official impeached in almost a century and a half. In Illinois, South Suburban Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is on the defensive concerning criticism from trustees and the media who question her spending. The African-American mayor lashed out at a recent public meeting stating to trustees that you all forget that I am the leader and trustees